Right place. It's 5 o'clock. And this is the call to order. So next up, we have the flag pledge. The flag over to my left. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Okay, board roll call. I see Steve Ryan, Eric Gleason, Mary Schilling, Julie Thies, Nina Simpson, and your host tonight, Jim Jordan. We have all 6 board members here. Item 2 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. One thing, we did move the agenda the meeting 1 hour earlier, and we intend to run from 5 p.m. to 6:30. There's a number of folks that want to attend the Christmas winter concert at the Egyptian Theater. So we will be done at 6:30, no matter what. So look forward to that. Okay, with that, item 2 is approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, agenda is approved. Item 3, public participation. The board welcomes comments and questions from the public. If you wish to address the board, please fill out a public participation sheet available at the table and give it to the board secretary. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. If more than one person will be addressing the same topic, we ask that you appoint a spokesperson to speak for the group. Speakers may offer objective criticism of school operations and programs, but the board will not hear comments regarding individual school personnel. Okay, with that, we have one public comment. It will be Deshaun Willis. Sir.
Would you like to stand right here?
Sure.
My name is Deshaun Willis. I'm here to present I think I said cultural, more broader cultural view for this community as a youth board. I believe that with the increase of people of color and ethnic backgrounds coming in this community, that there should be a change in the schools and as it in the community as well. One of the ways that I believe is by starting off the schools, since a lot of them are young right now and eventually will be graduating. I want to help implement different things. And one of the things is just like getting to know the students as a whole. And so we're having different culture things like history classes, changing the history classes, learning about stuff like that, assemblies in the schools, and just asking around, which I'm doing right now, and then hopefully introducing these cultures, eventually having flags on the schools, maybe just like different little things that might help better understand the students as a whole. I am working with Mr. Johnson of the North Bend District right now to further my goal and help get known more. Just hoping that maybe I can have backing of the school board as well in my endeavors with this. That's all.
Okay. All right. Deshaun, thank you, Tom. Thank you for coming and speaking. Okay. Item 4, some thank yous. Advanced Health. Donation of $5,000 to each North Bend school to help support youth at risk. $20,000 value. And we have Mr. Baugh. Yes. That's the biggest check I've ever seen. I told you that.
So first I got for high school principals, high school, middle school principals, a suicide prevention and awareness pamphlet that I would like for you to put into your schools. Perfect. Darryl, can I just hand that to you? Oh, sorry. Okay. The next thing I have is I have a letter for each principal. Just telling them what the funds are supposed to be used for. It's $5,000 for at-risk youth, however you want to define that. Some school districts are giving gift cards for students that need meals, others are buying clothes, others are buying whatever. We're gonna let you define what at-risk means. If it's for a program to help keep kids in school, it also counts. Okay, so each individual principal gets one of those. And part of the thing is we want to take pictures with each of the principals up here holding a sign saying they received $20,000 for the school district. So I need all of the principals.
Yeah. I'll take it.
If you like it or not, this is the cost. I'm sorry.
We don't have the board, kind of, yeah, the board can come down maybe behind.
Sure. Best way to think, Jimmy. That's why I do it in.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
They did get advanced health right, so that's. Awesome.
Fantastic.
Right.
So do you want all the principals up or individually?
Yeah.
Let's just do it all at once, if that's all right. Sure.
We have our principals.
Yeah, I was gonna.
There's only 3 of you, 4 schools. Who will be our 4th? Beautiful. Very nice.
Which school's missing?
Middle school.
They don't get any money.
Yeah, we'll tell them that. I said we should.
Boundaries, yeah.
Oh, you're gonna need to tilt, can you tilt that forward? So it doesn't get a little bit more. I like that. I'm just gonna center this over here. Okay, 3, 2, 1, smile. And one more just for fun.
Me again.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Perfect.
Thanks.
Very much. Thank you so much. Yes, here. Well, yes.
You wanna have-
Thank you.
And finally, I don't know who gets this, but this is the actual check. Believe it or not, you can't take that one back.
Our finance director is.
Okay, I'd like to thank Advanced Health and Mr. Baugh for that and let the record reflect that Tim Kreider received a check for $20,000. Noted. All right. Next, thank you, High Road Wealth, Josh Snoddy, boys basketball shooting machine. And we think that's if you're shooting hoops and you make it. It specs the thing back to where you're at.
Yep, I got head numbers.
It's like that Chuck and Cheese, it's a big one, big edition. Okay. We also have Dr. Scott Roberts, donation Clyde Allen scoreboard. Thank you for that, Scott. Okay, item 5, communications, A, board reports and communication. Okay. Item B, student representatives to the board, high school representatives.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello, my name is John and
Taylor.
Taylor Thompson. The winter sports are in full swing and we have over 150 students participating in athletics. Winter sports are basketball, swimming, wrestling, cheer, bowling, and equestrian.
Coast Classic Wrestling Tournament, we had 40 teams and nearly 800 wrestlers participating in this 37th annual tournament sponsored by the North Bend High School Booster Club. The event was a huge success. Our wrestlers compete this weekend in Grants Pass.
Our swimmers have had a couple of meets on the road and will now be at home for the remainder of the regular season meets. The next home meet will be on January 6th at Mingus Pool.
Our winter concert celebration is tonight at 7 p.m. at the Egyptian Theater in Coos Bay. The concert will feature the jazz band, jazz choir, band of note, one voice, select choir, and the symphonic band.
This week, we had a holiday spirit week at NBHS. Each day had a theme. Monday was holiday socks, Tuesday was ugly sweater day, Wednesday was elf day, today was pajama day, and tomorrow will be holiday hat day.
Teachers spent time decorating their doors with holidays ideas. There was even a fun staff competition. The winner was the library, followed very closely by the athletic office. Congratulations to the North Bend High School esports team, who placed 5th and 3rd overall in their divisions. As we speak, our Smash Brothers team is going for the gold.
Our basketball teams are at home tomorrow night. The varsity girls play Cresswell at 5:30, and the varsity boys play at 7. They will compete in the tournament in Cresswell over the break.
Speaking of basketball, for over 30 years, our boys and girls basketball teams have been decorating the town with Christmas wreaths. Excuse me. This year, our teams provided over 300 wreaths to people in the community.
The Hesperian players and drama dogs are excited to announce the next production, Puffs and 7 increasingly eventful years at a certain school of magic and magic. It is an original play by New York-based playwright Max Scott.
On December 5th, our Knowledge Bowl team hosted an invitational meet with 8 teams participating. North Bend placed 4th and 5th. 4th and 5th.
Tomorrow night at 6, our choir program will be singing Christmas carols throughout North Bend. Maybe they will come to your neighborhood.
That's all. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you, guys.
It's fun here.
Okay, 5C, Association Reports, North Bend Education Association Report. Ms. Gregor.
Hi,
Thank you.
thanks. Eva Varga is hosting a family night for English language learner students, so I'm the substitute teacher for this. Okay. At Hillcrest, positive office referrals are shared during daily announcements, and KCBY, our local TV news station, has featured this recently in a segment about positive behavior support at North Bend's elementary schools. There was strong parent-teacher conference attendance, and the PTA has been very active. There has been more fencing installed at Hillcrest to secure the campus. At North Bay, the PBIS system was also featured on the KCBY report. The Harvest Carnival and the Turkey Trot were both successful. North Bay also has new fencing and a rolling gate going into the back parking lot. A bid is out for fencing the rest of the parking lot. At the middle school, language arts teachers are finding the new reading curriculum is rigorous, yet there are not always materials to scaffold instruction. Students not passing in math are receiving additional instruction with the math teacher during the advisory period. At the high school, there have been fewer minor behavior issues, but more large behaviors, such as suicidal ideation and drug use. Counselors have been working with local healthcare providers so that 504s and IEPs are not prescribed. Cramapalooza, which is an exam preparation event, was well attended. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of absences of both students and staff due to illness. Every day there have been unfilled absences. Staff are making this work, but it's not sustainable. At the high school, for example, classified staff have been pulled to fill in as teachers, so they are not able to do their jobs, and there is a lag in those departments. Staff is trying to figure out how to address chronic absenteeism of students, especially those who are absent for 9 days, return for a class period, and then are absent again, avoiding that 10-day drop. More bus drivers and substitutes are needed. Buses are still packed and students are unruly on buses. The Veterans Day assemblies at each school were well received by all. It is so nice to have these opportunities to honor our heroes and connect with one another. The middle school winter choir and band concerts have also been very well attended. Staff, students, and families are looking forward to the high school performances this evening. Thanks.
Quick question. You mentioned the abbreviation PBIS. What is that?
Oh, positive behavior intervention supports. So it's the positive behavior support system that's school-wide, has 3 tiers, and so it's to support positive behavior of all students. So like giving out positive pause to recognize safe, responsible, and respectful behavior would be one example of supporting positive behavior for all students.
Gotcha. And lastly, on the security or the fencing or
Yeah.
whatever's happening,
Is Hillcrest at a point where it's single entry only during the day? Single point of entry?
That's where visitors, most people enter near the office. There's another door that the staff enter by, actually two others, one in the lower parking lot next to the gym. And there's another in the back of the building on that side too, where staff can enter, but those doors are locked at all times.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, next up, C2, Oregon School Employees Association report. Is that you, Marty?
Hi, guys.
Hello.
So this evening, you're going to hear from the district office, special education department, that they're considering contracting out our life skills program to ESD. After speaking to our classified staff currently working in life skills, along with a few of our certified staff currently in life skills, we do not believe that this is what is best for our district, our students, or our staff. We do not believe that every option to keep life skills in our district has been exhausted. There have been many suggestions from our teachers, along with classified staff, as to how our program should be run and how to fix the issues that we currently are facing in life skills. But those suggestions have been ignored. We would like that the board consider all options and ideas from the staff with experience working in life skills to keep this program intact and within our district before deciding to contract it out to ESD. Also consider the contracting out life skills will create a considerable amount of movement across our school and our district. Our contract allows for any employee that is displaced due to district decisions and at no fault of their own to have the option to bump out anyone that has been hired after them. So once they bump someone, then that person will then be able to bump someone and so on and so forth down the line. So it would be a disruptive ripple effect across the whole district. I have spoken to almost every EA in our life skills program, and none of them want to make the move to ESD, nor do the life skills teachers. So if you approve this decision, not only will you be losing many very talented classified staff, we will also be losing very talented and long-term certified staff. We're asking you to reconsider this decision until the input and ideas from life skills staff and other avenues have been explored. Thank you.
As a decision, I don't think a decision's been made.
Not
has it?
yet.
Yeah, okay.
We're just asking that you
Okay.
very consider it closely, the board.
And just so the board understands, so if there were a change from being North Bend to ESD,
Mhm.
but it's still classified employee.
It is a classified, but you're talking about a whole different district, whole different union.
A different, not you guys, not you.
Is it on our agenda tonight to make a decision?
No,
No,
Oh,
no.
good,
No.
because of,
No,
okay,
it's not.
it sounds like, I was like, I didn't see that, did I miss something?
no. We just want you to know, this is our opportunity to have, as a group, that I think that we feel, including the teachers and the staff, we're not for this at all.
Has all of that information been, because I haven't seen any of the information presented to us, have we gotten the
We will.
information? Okay,
I think this evening.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank
Have a good evening. Okay, item 5D, Superintendent Report, Kevin Bogatin.
Thank you. First of all, we're celebrating a holiday today, and so I want to start off with that. So I want to wish everyone a happy Bill of Rights Day. I have a little bit of information to share about that, but I also have, your gift today from is a copy of the Bill of Rights. So, but
Oh, thank you. Is it real?
for real, it's the actual Bill of Rights. So Bill of Rights Day is commemorated every year on December 15th. The Bill of Rights consists of the first 10 amendments made to the United States Constitution, and its purpose is to spell out the personal freedoms and rights of the American people. The Bill of Rights was first written on September 25th, 1789, and was later ratified on December 15th, 1791, which is why Bill of Rights Day is celebrated on this date. Bill of Rights Day was established by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who issued a presidential proclamation in November of 1941, declaring that this holiday should be observed on December 15th and encouraging people to be patriotic on this day. The first Bill of Rights Day was commemorated on the 150th anniversary of the ratification of the document. And we are celebrating it today. So on November 16th, I had an opportunity to participate in the McKay Supermarket shopping spree as part of Bus Jam, collecting food and toys and money for Coos County children and families. I squared off against Coos Bay Superintendent Karis McGahee in a competition to collect the most items in 90 seconds. I talked a big game, got off to a great start off the line, headed straight to the canned tuna section where I cleaned the shelves of tuna. I ended up collecting nearly $3,000 worth of food for Bus Jam. Unfortunately, my challenger collected more items than me. So she won this coveted Golden Cart Award. However, the competition continued with the December 3rd Fill the Bus event held in North Bend and Coos Bay. And the 2022 winner is Team North Bend. So North Bend collected the most toys, most money, the most food, filling nearly 2 busfuls of goodies. This friendly rivalry between our communities really just benefits kids and families. A huge thank you to everyone who donated toys and food, including a generous donation from McKay's Market, some key sponsors, KDOC, Northwest Natural, First Student, Bimart, Coos Cycle Supply. I think they donated 100 some bikes. And the Coos Bay North Bend Rotary. I know there's a lot of others, but thanks to all for that event. A lot of people will be opening presents over break because of it. ODE, Oregon Department of Ed, is requesting and inviting public comment by December 31st, 2022 on the strategic waiver of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. So that's the ESEA. We've talked a little bit about this. This is around state assessment requirements for the 23-24 school year. ODE intends to request a strategic waiver from the U.S. Department of Ed in response to Senate Bill 1583. I know I'm throwing a lot of things out. This part of the report will be put on the web, and we'll actually just do a separate one on this that will include this information. ODE believes it's desirable to provide an opportunity for parents, educators, school and district leadership, and community partners to share their comments and support or opposition concerning the strategic waiver. So where you can find that, so it's waiver feedback at ode.org. Oregon.gov. Again, we'll put that in a post out district-wide. So I just wanted everyone to be aware of that. There is some background. I won't go into the whole thing on this, but there's some background with this Senate Bill 1583, which I kind of go over a little bit of this. And to comply with that Senate bill, they're doing the strategic plan. And there's a proposal around, this really isn't about getting rid of state testing. It is modifying item pools, test blueprint around the length of assessment, item delivery, test administration, scoring, and reporting. So ODE maintains a commitment to the role, value, and usefulness of statewide summative tests as part of a balanced assessment system. This waiver request is part of an ongoing effort by ODE to improve the efficiency of statewide summative testing. So I think there is some kind of thing that says that we're getting rid of state testing. That really is not what this is about, but this is about making some modifications. So I encourage people to go on, give their feedback, learn a little bit more about that. Again, I could go into more details if you're really interested, but for tonight, that's kind of an overview, and we'll put more information out. I want to recognize Chef Murphy, our North Bend High School Vice Principal, Chris Pendleton, and students from our culinary program who made and served pizza at Myrtle Point High School as part of their parent-teacher conferences on November 21st. I received a special note of thanks from Myrtle Point Superintendent Kathleen Stoff and their secondary principal, Kaylee Fandel, recognizing their professionalism, hard work, and of course, their amazing pizza. This group does a great job representing the North Bend community. I want to give my sincere thank you to Chef Murphy and the rest of the Blazing Bulldogs. We were recently contacted by Team Oregon regarding the possibility of utilizing the middle school and high school parking lots for their courses. Team Oregon is the state of Oregon's official motorcycle riding and training education program. So Team Oregon has served riders since 1984 for both in-person on-cycle training as well as online instruction. They have been training individuals locally at Pony Village Mall and are looking to make a change in their training location for the upcoming year. The district is in conversations with Team Oregon to support this request. On Tuesday this week, I had a chance to attend the Oregon Coast Artisan and Trade Education Collective. It's also known as OCATEC, O-C-A-T-E-C. So they kind of have a OCATEC. If you're hearing that word out there, that's what that stands for. I went to their board meeting. OCATEC is a local organization housed in Charleston. It's led by President Rick Stillwagon and former board member and advisor Mia Bryan. You might know her. The mission of the organization is to provide quality instruction of the industrial arts to the people in the communities on the Oregon coast by quality experienced artisans and tradespeople, while also researching new technologies and materials. Their vision is to develop and implement relevant programs in our community, continue to reach out around us and look for opportunity, maintain a creative, positive, inclusive presence, help other organizations when possible, continue to build our organization infrastructure, and continue to look at challenges as opportunities. Their goals include to inspire children to build, make, and innovate, creating an environment atmosphere to play and create, provide community access to place to build things, teach arts and trade skills, innovate sustainable technology, develop and teach circular economy and industry, develop and provide means to acquire clean water, inspire and teach the community to grow food. And there are some other program goals that's kind of that you can find online. We are just beginning this relationship and partnership and look forward to continued opportunities to connect our students and staff with these local artisans, tradespeople, entrepreneurs, and artists. So that's all my report for tonight.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
You know, I watched the video of the supermarket thing, and Kevin was gypped. The rule that you can get individual pieces of candy is just garbage.
Wow.
Just for the record.
You know, for the record, I'm gonna petition for a change in the supermarket sweep rules. Because if not, I'm gonna send Kevin to the individual nut section, and you're gonna have one nuts every day. But it was hilarious watching Kevin driving his cart and scooping cans of tuna off the shelf. They were going everywhere. Mia was dodging cans of tuna. It was
Impressive.
It was impressive.
It was a lot of fun. And then again, it was so great to come. It's like they had literally 2 big giant buses filled to the ceiling with toys and gifts, and it's pretty crazy. Lots of gifts given out this year.
Thank you for sharing the best practices.
Well, we need to plan a little bit better next year. I just say
I know,
strategy.
if I get invited again, they had a band, like part of their band come. Like, so we're gonna definitely, I would need to definitely step up the game. I didn't really realize what I was getting myself into.
No, it was cool. It was
Some
cool.
fanfare going on in the background.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, thank you for that. Item 6, action consent agenda items. Is there a motion to approve? Or is there comments on it?
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to,
Second.
there's a second, motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Consent agenda is approved. Item 7, budget committee calendar action item. Is that Mr. Tim Kreider? Where's that check?
Committee calendar, in front of you that essentially walks us through the dates for the budget, cycle this year, and, if you're good with that. Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, you gotta come to
I think last
the.
year it was just like, hey, I approved it. I didn't have to say anything. but- There's the budget committee calendar. Any questions?
Mhm.
I mean, for now, it looks good. We're gonna forecast, so.
Yeah, it's in the same timeline as last year.
Yeah.
Everything kind of aligns week by week to what we did last year too. And we will try to have Jim there for you.
Okay, this was identified as a action item.
Yes.
So
I move to approve the budget calendar draft for 23-24 as presented.
Second.
okay, there is a motion and a second to approve the budget calendar draft. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Nays? Okay, motion is approved. Budget calendar is approved. Item 8 is appoint budget committee members, action item. Is that me?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
the
me.
cover sheet's in there, pretty self-explanatory. You have a couple people that submitted. We had 2 openings and 2 submissions.
Okay. So-
I would like to vote on the separate the action item combines them, the two nominees. I'd like to separate them. And vote on them individually.
Yeah, you can.
I suppose we could, but
Okay, I make a motion to vote on the individuals individually.
We'll just make a motion on each individual.
Okay, let me read background summary. District announced vacancies for the budget committee and opened the window to receive letters of interest through Friday, December 9th. The district received 2 letters of interest for the positions from Bob Dillard and Sammy Pearson. Okay, position 4, term expired the 30th of June 2022, most recently held by Bob, who's seeking reappointment. Position 5 was expired June 30th, also 2022, most recently held by Mark Hadley, who's not seeking reappointment. So let's go ahead and we'll do position by position. The action requested is for position 4, Bob Dillard. The new term would expire June 30th, 2025. The motion, I'll read this first, is to appoint Bob Dillard to the North Bend School District Budget Committee, position 4. That's the motion I've made. It. Is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, there's a second, so I'll reread the motion. There's a motion to appoint Bob Dillard to the North Bend School District Budget Committee, position 4. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Nays? None. Okay. Motion is approved for Bob Dillard. I will make a motion for Sammy Pearson for Budget Committee, position 5 for a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2025.
I'll second that.
So there's a motion with a second to appoint Sammy Pearson for Budget Committee, position 5 for a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2025. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor, say nay or nays?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, so we got 5-1. So the motion passes to appoint Sammy Pearson for Budget Committee, position 5. Okay. Item 9, attendance report. No action. Miss Bruce, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready on this. So we all know that attendance was impacted greatly by the pandemic. This year, Kevin asked us to come up with a task force and kind of take a look at our attendance practices and policies and, see if we could refine them and tighten them up a little bit and see what areas we really needed to take a look at and strengthen in there. So I guess by default, I was nominated to do that, which it's been an interesting process going through that. Meeting with building administration, representatives from each building, registrars within the building, secretaries, and the attendance advocates. We've come up with 4 different priorities. Joe, are these, they're coming on, okay. 4 different priorities that we're going to focus on this year and partially from board input last year. Can we go to the next one, Joe, please? One of those, and this was out of the board questions that came up last year, to identify and track withdrawn students and be able to give information to the board on where those students were and what has happened with them. The follow-up on those status unknown students, because we have a group of students that fall into that category in there, and then the ones that are 10-day drop students as well. That was our first priority that we had. And then we talked about the use of data systems and cleaning our data up so that we could access it easily. The data was accurate and that it reflected what we needed to really measure in there. Everything from the way attendance was taken in the different buildings so that we were sure that attendance was right. We have a passive system that if it's not marked, then they're there. Basically, so we need to make sure that everybody is taking that attendance within the different buildings there. And we've worked very hard and diligently on that to clean it up. And we had some classes that were reported that didn't fall into a regular category in there that we needed to clean up in there as well. We needed to take a look at the OARs and ORSs because they've changed a little bit regarding attendance. Some of the teeth under compulsory attendance has been taken out. The laws have changed where citations are different than what they used to. You can't really find folks like you used to be able to in there. And then we need to develop an attendance procedure flow chart that talks about what happens in the different steps as we go through with attendance in there. And Chris Pendleton, has been instrumental in working on some of this with us to come up with that policy at that high school level. The third area that we wanted to work on kind of ties into that is parent and guardian notification on updates on their students' attendance, especially if they're falling into that category that's at-risk attendance in their letters, notification that happened. It was kind of suspended during the pandemic because there was a lot of different things going on at that time and a lot of absences. But bringing that system back in all the buildings, so we had notifications at certain benchmarks, so parents were aware of where attendance were and students were aware of it as well. And then our fourth category in there was interventions. And we needed to really strengthen some of those interventions to work with families on attendance in there. Positive messages, not so much a hammer in there, but more, how can we help you type of message. So we're working with attendance advocates and administration to come up with systems of that. Calls home, text, on a more frequent basis in there, not just the robocalls, but additional things in there, building attendance meetings on a monthly basis in there, strengthening our current policies, and then developing, this came out of one of the meetings we had with the state that we did with Everyday Matters in there, developing a resource folder for some of those families that are really struggling. Attendance kind of falls into three different categories. We have kids that are actually sick, and we don't want those kids at school when they're sick. The second category is there's kids that are kind of just, a little bit flaky out there that aren't coming to school sometimes, and parents that aren't getting them to school sometimes. And then the third category is there's a group of parents and families out there that are just struggling to survive out there, and attendance is not at school is not their main priority, but how can we help them? And that's where we're thinking that resource folder will be in there, that we can, as we approach parents, we want to help you, and here's some resources that we can do that. But developing that positive message in there. And again, leveraging our state resources in there with Everyday Matters. And it's a resource that we have had a meeting with, and we're going to have an additional meeting with later on. But I'm going to give you some data now and share some data with you. I know you love data. At least some of you do love data in there. The first graph that we put together here talks about the withdrawn students from the district. And I know that was a big discussion that went on last year as we saw numbers decline in some of the buildings. We've had 208 kids withdraw from North Bend brick and mortar schools since June of last year. Now, this is our enrollment. We took our enrollment and looked at our enrollment at the end of last year and how many students did not return to us and how many students dropped out since school started, or not dropped out, but moved, or whatever reason there was in there. And you can see there was 208 kids. They're about 10% of our population. Not surprising, because that's our mobility rate. A lot of the reasons we can kind of account for why those folks have dropped out. Those colored areas on that chart, those 6 boxes up there, are state reporting categories that we report to the state on. Status unknown. You have to have a records request for them to fall out of that status unknown category. We have kids in there, it says 13 at the high school. There's not 13 kids that we don't know where they're at necessarily. There are some, and we know kind of where they're at, but some of them are just recently moved. And we haven't had a records request. And I'd say probably about half of them fit into that category. And until we get a records request, they kind of stay in that category. Moved within the state, and we're going to show you some more specific data on this, specifically for the high school, since they have some of the higher numbers. They're a larger enrollment. We'll take a look at them as we go through. Moved out of state, enrolled in a non-public school setting, enrolled in a public agency, enrolled not enrolled medical, and then personal or academic reasons. There's a wide variety of categories, specific reasoning that they fall within each of those. And you get an idea on that left-hand box that shows, 81 at the high school, 40 at the middle school, 40 at Hillcrest, and 47 at North Bay. Adds up to those numbers. And you get the percentage of each of those different categories. Biggest one, moved within the state. We're going to break that number down for you so you get a look at where they went within the state. And then you have moved out of state. Not much we can do about that. They move Coast Guards, our different family reasons that they moved to different areas in there. And then the status unknown. And that's the box that I know we've really been targeting. And that number of 13 at the high school has been reduced greatly just through some coordination of effort from the registrar, attendance advocate, and administration at the high school. I think it's gone from upper 20s down to 13 now. And I think it will go even lower as we proceed on, as we move through that. So a breakdown of where, our students that have left us has gone. When we look at the withdrawn student status unknown at the high school, we have some ideas of where they're going, and we've had some preliminary records requests at some of these in there. Of those 13 kids that we have there, we know that there's an unknown category. There's either moved or a 10-day drop, and I probably should have broken that down again, but it's a lot of data to analyze as we're doing that. There's 9 that fit in that category. About half of those are recent moves, and we just have not received records requests, or we don't know, they didn't tell us when they dropped or moved exactly where they're going. We've got to do a follow-up conversation with them or wait for those records requests. There are some that have 10-day dropped. It might be because they're fifth-year senior and didn't come back to us, said they were and did not come back. It could be for several different reasons in there. They might just not have shown up, and they're out in the community. And we're tracking those students. We're making contact with them, but until we get that records request or re-enroll them, they'll show a status unknown on there. There are dropouts typically of kids. If they don't come back and we don't get that records request, that's why we're very diligently looking and tracking those students as we move through the year. The next graph that I have on there is where did the students move within Oregon? Where did they go to? And so if you look at that, we'll start with the top one up there. There are 5 kids that moved within Coos County. They either moved to Reedsport and Reedsport. So Reedsport's not Coos County, but we include it because it's close proximity. 2 kids moved to Reedsport, 1 to Coquille, 1 to Myrtle Point, 1 to Bannon. They moved down there, physically moved down there. So they're attending school down there. We had 10 kids move outside of the county into other counties in Oregon. We had in Winter Lakes was a discussion we had last year. Are we losing a lot of kids to Winter Lakes? We only lost 2 kids that moved to Winter Lakes this year. And we had some kids that come back and enrolled with us from Winter Lakes as well. We were having that conversation today. 15 kids went to Marshfield High School. Variety of reasons. Some might have been inter-district transfer. A good portion of them moved over there, and because of proximity and busing and transportation, they're attending Marshfield High School in there. Alt-Ed in Coos Bay, 4 students went to Alt-Ed in Coos Bay. Destinations are AYA over there. We had 3 kids that went to Riverview, the private school over there, and 2 kids were homeschooled out of that numbers. 41 students total in there, and that's the breakdown of where they went in there. Similar numbers at the elementary and middle schools. In fact, I think percentages almost match that. We did not take time, and I probably could have, but spent quite a bit of time getting this much data pulled together. We could have looked at kids that came to us from other areas as well. Because if you look at our numbers are not different than what we predicted them to be. We didn't see this outflow without an inflow that came in as well. We had kids move in from out of state, Coast Guard families come in. So we have new enrollments in there that probably matched those 10 that moved, and the kids that went to Coos Bay, we probably had, similar amount of kids that came from Coos Bay to us in there.
More kids, actually. We get more kids from Coos Bay than they.
Well, I don't have the data, but I believe you're right.
I do have the data.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. So that's a little bit about the withdrawn students. The other thing I wanted to share with you, a little bit of our history on attendance recently in there. We've got a 6-week look back on this graph that you're seeing. That starts on the last day of each school week. And I just picked that because that happened to be the day when I started doing this that I was working on. So I said, I'm going to do the last day of every week for 6 weeks in there to look at what attendance, our absentee percentage of absent students were. So we see a trend starting in that beginning of November that, went up from 13% up to a high of 34% on the last day of school before Thanksgiving break in there. And then we went down to just under 20%, when we returned from Thanksgiving break, down to about 12% the first week in December, up a little bit this week in there in the mid 15% range. So you get a little look at what that percentage of absenteeism looks like. It spiked, it's come back down, and I'm sure we're going to see those continued spikes, throughout the years we go into the spring. It's anticipated, and that's what's predicted. Hopefully, it's not going to happen, but we think it will. The red mark in there, the red graph in there is staff absentee, or staff that are gone on that day. I thought as we started to look at this, I was looking at the staff reports in there, and I said, my gosh, we got lots of staff gone as well. Variety of reasons. Sickness is a big reason in there. And you can see we average anywhere from, just under 10% on that beginning of December, up to a high of the 22-23% range in staff.
Bruce, is this similar to previous years?
No, I don't know. This first time we've done it, really taken a detailed look like this. That's a good question, though. We will have the ability to look at that as we move forward. This is a dynamic graph, and I have to give, before I go any further, I want to give a shout out to two people on this. Well, three people really, that I didn't put this all together. This spreadsheet you're looking at is dynamic. Every time I look at it, it changes some because as they input information, it updates as it goes through on there. So we can give an update on this to the board throughout the year on this type of information. Heather Fleming, Melanie Moeller, and Lisa Harden were instrumental in putting these together and making all the formulas and everything work in there. So thanks to them as we start. Joe, can we see the next one? I thought, well, is it the same information per building? So I went ahead and printed out information for each building on the student absenteeism and the staff absenteeism. High school's on the top. Left up there, you can see the trend in the high school. They had one day of absenteeism of students above 30%, and a day of students above 20%. Staff was pretty consistent in there. The last week looks like the last day on the 9th, they were just below 20% on staff. Middle school, next graph on the upper right, you'll see 2 days above 30% for students in there, 1 day above 20% for staff in there. Hillcrest, lower left, 1 day for students above 30%. Staff, 1 day of staff above 20% in there as you go through. And North Bay on the bottom right over there, you'll see they had 2 days above 30% of students and 3 days above 20% of staff. 1 day in there. About 34% of staff were absent in there. You can only imagine what kind of problems that occurs for learning within there. Combining of classrooms just to keep schools open. Things that you have to do for multiple weeks in there that affect learning in there. I know that having talked to Mrs. Cahill out there, she had to scramble to condensed programs so that she could offer regular instruction in regular classrooms as much as possible. And unfortunately, that's the one that impacts in all these schools, impacts the learners that are at the most disadvantaged in there. We're not talking special education or life skills, but we're talking more of those kids that are struggling to read, that receive some of those support services in there. And you see the disruptions that it can cause in there. When we really want to help, it's tough because you're not staffing these with outside people coming in to fill the positions. Oftentimes we're running short staffed, or we're moving people from the district office. We're moving people from wherever we can to staff those positions. It's had an impact on instruction for those weeks that we really had to do those things. But I tell you what, administrators in this district are creative, and they make sure that kids don't suffer, that they're getting what they need as best we can provide it out there. And a shout out to them.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't have to shut down. So that week of 11/22, that's like peak week. That's a 2-day week. Is that a Monday and Tuesday?
Yes, that's a Monday and Tuesday.
I'm speculating wildly here, but if you take those 2 days off, you have a 9-day period. So
Yeah.
just speculating wildly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
I'm sure some of
How many
it,
of those
I'm
were
sure that had an
rearranged?
impact on it as well.
I'm glad we were able to maintain operations. That's great.
So I thought I'd go ahead and give you it was a 30-day trend, the graph I had, but I pasted two graphs together, so it's a little over 30 days. We go back to 11/8 was the first day on the graph that I could get on there. And it shows the number of kids gone in our 4 brick and mortar schools for that 30 days, actually a little longer than that, from November 8th to December 13th in there. And you can kind of see the trend, kind of spiked up during that time, went down, and it's kind of holding steady in there. We look at 240 kids, 230 kids in there. We're looking at about 12% of our student population that we have in the schools right now. Then I wanted to end with one other slide on here that brought this whole conversation about, and that's our trend over the last 4 years in there. Now, there shows 6 years down there, but I turned 2 of the years off so the lines didn't get in there because there were so many lines you couldn't tell which was which in there. And actually 2016 was very similar to 17 and 18. 2020 and 21 was a year of the pandemic. That one, I'm not sure the data was really relevant because we had quarantine and we had, quarantine engaged in there. So that one probably was not as realistic a number in there. But we look at 2007-18 and that number held as we go back and look at previous years, pretty consistent around that number. Actually, those were some of the higher years because we'd been really working on attendance and stressing attendance throughout that time period. And then last year, you'll see it jumped down into the 80s. And we're looking at that 80s down to mid 80s in there a lot of the time last year. But we were quarantining for 2 weeks with kids. And oftentimes we had families that if they had, COVID or they were quarantining for that time, plus additional times in there. So there were long periods of time that we had kids out for. Our goal and our hope, but by the end of the year, we weren't doing that anymore. And our attendance went up a little bit during that time period. Our hope was this year that we'd automatically see an improvement, and we did at first as we came back. But then triple threat came in with the 3 illnesses, and we've been having kids go home, proactively and where they should be. We don't want sick kids here getting other kids sick, and we've been working on starting to bring those kids back in that probably have learned some bad habits at some things, and really stressing the importance of being there to learn, because if you don't have kids there, they're not going to learn at the rate we want them to learn, and they're not going to do what they need to do. So we're working hard to message that in a positive, proactive way so that we can bring kids back in and ensure that attendance is going to improve as we move forward. That's what I have. Any questions?
Questions for Bruce? Bruce, thank you for the answer. Appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, item 10. ESD North Bend Life Skills Update. No action. Great. Hello.
I know I wasn't popular at the beginning part, but no decisions are made. This is just information. It's just like it's being transparent, what we're looking at, and just give a little background of it. And staff input, parent input is super important. And it will be listened to and part of this process. I just want to start with that. I did present some information through the agenda, but I'm just going to read through that piece, and then you're welcome to ask questions. So North Bend School District Adaptive Life Skills Program currently supports about 51 students within the 4 schools, but that does not include our adult transition program. And the elementary adaptive life skills programs have increased in sizes from 10 to 12 students in each of the programs to 13 to 14 students in each program. And I don't think it's just this area. I think a lot of we're feeling a bigger at the younger ages, students that are impacted more by their disabilities at the younger ages. We're seeing that increase. I just heard that from many other special ed directors when we do like Oregon type of gatherings. North Bend currently collaborates with our neighboring South Coast ESD to access support services to our students with disabilities. Our local ESD has been able to provide specialty support services that are crucial to many of our students with disabilities. Our students benefit from services provided by the ESD's augmentative communication specialists, autism consultants, occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech therapists, nurses, feeding specialists, and a team play approach to better support our students in our life skills programs. Our district currently orders the services through a menu of services that the ESD offers to our district each year. One item that we have not purchased for many years is the adaptive life skills service that they provide. Our neighboring district does purchase this service, and they have shared that this has worked out well for both their families and the district. We're currently looking into this as a possible option for next year. We are only in the beginning phases of researching the cost comparisons, seeking input from both our families and staff, and we have scheduled a questioning session for our staff on January 3rd, and we'll schedule one for our families the following week. This is a formal notice that we are exploring this option for next school year, but we have not made any decisions yet. We hope to have a decision by the end of February.
So any questions for Corinne?
I mean, there's all these distinct skill sets, and we don't have a lot of people within our school district, so we're basically going to them to offer those skill sets. more or
And
less.
yeah, North Bend, pre the, I think a couple special ed directors before me. ESD did manage the life skills programs before, and I think, and I don't know if history is, it's like trying to understand all the history of it all, but I think what happened was one of the directors or administrators from the ESD came over to North Bend School District and said, I could do it better, I could do it cheaper, and took it. And so I think that's how it started in our district. And then I have worked in a few districts or a couple districts, and they're bigger districts, and in my history, ESDs have typically ran the life skills program. So, but looking at resources for our staff, looking for resources for our students, I am exploring that, and I want to improve both. And so that's going to be part of that. Is it going to be beneficial and improve for our staff? Is it going to add more resources and supports to our students? And there was one of our parents did put out a poll just to get some preliminary parent input around, it wasn't around North Bend, it was just around ESD's running life skills programs. Would you rather have your school district do it? Would you rather have ESD do it? Are you impartial? And I think there was about 24 people that gave input altogether, and 62% had said they would prefer ESD doing it. So, we're going to take input, and we're going to if there are things we're not thinking about, because we only want to look at improving. So.
So whether, currently it's being done by North Bend School District, if ESD did it, where the students are located, whatever schools they're at, does that remain the same?
Yeah, that'll be one of the questions we'll have to definitely explore for sure, but I don't see it changing.
Okay.
I mean, we're using ESD.
We
Folks,
we
contract
choose a menu of
Yeah.
items from them, like we
Yeah.
choose the specialists that come in, and we pay for a certain amount of time for them to provide services for the students
Yeah.
that need those services.
Okay. But you're running the life skills program, and
Correct.
just you're managing the time and all that
Correct.
kind of stuff, and working with ESD and all
Yeah.
that. But then if the switches, they're going to be managing that for North Bend.
Yes,
Okay.
there still would be collaboration
Yeah,
because I still am the district rep,
yeah,
so.
okay, cool.
I know you answered this already, but I'm sorry, I couldn't keep track. What prompted this?
Well, I would say just trying to improve the resources for our students and trying to improve the resources for our staff too. One thing that is different between like the school district managing a life skills classroom versus ESD is, so ESD, they support life skills classrooms. So they have their own union. And and I think of like our union, we have one union. And so, but staff have the same classification for if they work in a life skills or if they are a title assistant. Those jobs are different. They're very different. And so that's a big piece that, and we have lost some staff to the ESD because they pay more. And so, you know, it's hard to be competitive in order to keep staff when you are one union too. And so it gets complicated, and it's a different job. It's a specialty job, and the students, you know, we want to make sure that we are accessing all the resources for them. And as I said, I have been in education and special education for almost 20 years, and most districts, ESDs do run it. So when I came here, it was like not typical for the school districts to run the life skills programs.
I mean, they've definitely, because they do this day in, day out, and they've got.
And they
Well,
can do the
resources
cross training for all their staff. Yeah.
They do this for other school districts as well, and so forth. That just means that you're gonna have a lighter load to focus on other things, right?
Well, it probably would be taking on different things is my thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which,
Can I add a little bit just to what, because I think one of the things that prompted this, you know, this year at Hillcrest, for example, teacher left and all the staff, all the sort of the classified staff left. So we were building that basically program from kind of ground zero with no experienced staff. So either you transfer people in and you need to hire people. So as we look at hiring, limited pool of kind of certified, trained, experienced people. And so again, we hire the best people we have. And again, this doesn't, nothing against the people we've hired. I think the teacher in there is working really, really hard with a restricted license, trying hard, but it is a struggle. It's like learn as you go without a license, without some background. He's learning every day. Same thing with the staff that we're hiring in there, but it's all brand new. And I think if I was the superintendent at the ESD looking at all these programs across the region, I wouldn't ever start a program from scratch with no one there that knows that's worked in a school setting with this population. So we would move some people even temporarily. So I think we would have seen something different around what's happening at Hillcrest, for example, this year. I think it would start smoother by having some people even temporarily, hey, can you work here for the next 6 months, help train up new educational assistants, help support this teacher, or bring over a more veteran teacher for a period of time. I mean, there's different things that you would do when you have more options across our system. So, I mean, that's really what prompted a bit of this, because it's not just Hillcrest. You know, I think the high school, you had high school teacher here today, had a rough year last year. So as I think as Kareen was looking at even this year, you know, there's some experienced staff he has, really, really good with kids. One of the options would have been to move them to Hillcrest to help support them. That wasn't even really on the table because they had a pretty rough year last year. It's like, we want some continuity, and they needed a year of not quite as chaotic as they had last year. So again, we're kind of felt like we're not going to mess with the high school this year, but then that leaves limited options to support some big changes at the elementary level. So, I mean, those are things that kind of prompted this was, hey, let's at least explore this, because outside of this, social media, parents are saying, hey, the ESD runs our life skills. We should do a petition to get the district. So had we not brought this forward, you would be getting a group of parents petitioning us to consider this. Again, whether we do this or not, there was other sort of things at play here of people wanting us to at least explore this question. So that's what we're doing, but no decisions made. So I just want to be clear.
Just have a bazillion questions, and I don't think we're gonna even get to all of them or answer them tonight, but definitely have to take this slow. In my opinion, I don't think we're gonna have an answer for you by February. I mean, I'm only speaking for myself. Of course, there's 6 of us, but that sounds really super ultimately complicated, in my opinion. It sounds really messy. We'll look into it. Give us as much information as you can. And we want more answers from the parents and the students and the staff than the administrators. sorry.
No, we're just
I mean,
early.
I
This
get
is
it,
really
but-
just notification today that we are just beginning this process of gathering information.
Yeah. but
We
for
did a
February,
preliminary look at, is it just even cost feasible? Like if it was super outrageous, we wouldn't have even come forward, but
Yeah.
it's within the ballpark of kind of, looking at this is not a huge cost difference. So at least that's sort of the beginning step. And
Yeah.
now like, what's the implications of this on all the questions that you probably, we will come with a lot more information in a future meeting.
I have to agree with the timeline because I think it's gonna take as long as it actually is gonna take, and I would be interested in going to those sessions
Yeah.
that you have lined
Yeah,
up.
we wanna know what's going on. So if we have-
You're welcome. The first one, January 3rd. It'll be at 4 o'clock at the high school library.
Okay.
Can you email us that, Mia,
Absolutely.
please? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna track all the questions and then I'm going to, maybe not be able to answer them. And I'm gonna try to get ESD there too to help with the tracking of questions and then as quickly as possible, address all those questions and answer them. So,
Yeah, we know that there's gonna be concerns around, do staff have a job? What's the pay look like? So we're working on all of that information kind of at this point. I mean, you're hearing the initial response is no, but they also haven't really heard what does this mean for you financially? And we heard in negotiations, the financial, like really their employees being very vocal about salaries. So at least we want to share like, hey, we're willing to do this switch and there's going to be, and we're pretty confident that there's the employees as they work in this would get paid a higher wage working for BSD.
Okay.
So there is some positives to this from an employee standpoint, I think as well.
Good. Thank you for bringing this up and it's on the radar. Thank you.
Thank you, great.
Yeah, so I'll start now.
Okay, item 11, first read policies.
Yeah, so I'm asking Mia to kind of take a lead in this. And so, she's working kind of up all through these. And so she's going to kind of walk you through in these first read and just kind of explain some of that. And then if there's any issues and questions, we can kind of go from there. But we're just going to take these one by one. They're not action items. If you recall our process, we haven't done this in a little while. This first read is to review these, any changes, any questions. We would take that tonight, come back in our next meeting if there's any substantial changes, recommendations, we would come back and you can make a decision whether you would adopt if it's something really big changes, or you'll come back with second read. We'll give you the update of what we came up with, a question, we made the change, and then you would adopt them at the next meeting. So Mia's going to help walk through these for you.
Okay, just so you know, I don't make any decisions. I just write it down and I consult all the professionals and what they want to do, and then I write it down. So just to sum up what this is, because they're a little confusing. These are required policies that have been presented to us this year. The IGBBA, that's the confusing one. So basically what they're doing is they're consolidating. They're putting policies together. So there's a few policies and they want to clean it up. So they want to get rid of IGBBC. Just get rid of it, merge it into IGBB. So that's what that is. They're just asking that we remove IGBBC. They put that information into IGBB. They ask us also to, since there is an IGBBCAR, to just take the C off and make it an IGBBAR, since we are now getting rid of.
Sounds like busy work.
I
Better to do.
Yes, and then there is IGBBA, which again is just some updates to the language. Both of these are required language updates. There was no change from our school district on this.
Then why did they even bother?
Consolidation, I think, trying to put them together.
I think this better matches a bit of our complaint processes and some of that. So it gets rid of a special complaint process for talented and gifted and just wraps it back into our complaint KL policy.
Cool.
So that is for talented and gifted. Yes. Questions on this? Nope.
My only comment is on IGBBA. Item 8 was struck, which was a national standardized academic achievement test of reading or mathematics, or test of total English language arts, or total mathematics and smarter. balanced assessment for assistance in identifying academically talented students, and you had to have a 97th percentile on one of those tests, and that was all struck, which I kind of thought that was part of being talented and gifted, was you were very high functioning academically. So I'm at a little bit of a loss there for that part, but
I could get back to them too.
Tiffany,
Yeah, another one.
okay.
we don't need to work it now. That's just
Yeah.
my,
Okay.
just an observation for me.
This is this first reading, right? We don't have to spend
Yeah.
a lot of time on it.
Yeah, one of the things that we can, maybe on that is coming back and just if there is some questions around identification for talented and gifted, we can review that as part of this. As part of our reading of number 2, come
Mhm.
back with a little bit of information on how we are identifying if it's not this.
Housekeeping, we have 20 minutes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you for that.
IK, academic achievement, very minor changes on that policy. We chose will instead of may on that language, and we added students and parents at the end. Otherwise, we took all of their suggested, required, these are required policies.
So we don't get a choice anyways.
Blair.
Okay.
If you do want to, we usually will run it back to some attorneys
Yeah,
through
change the
OSBA
can, change the will back to can.
or may.
Or may.
That one we can do.
That's recommended by Tiffany.
Yeah, we can do that. You guys can decide to do that.
I will read it.
We can change those. And then JGAB says that we cannot, it's a mostly language about restraint and seclusion, and it just adds what a seclusion cell is and prohibits it. That's the only required change to that policy, that you cannot put kids in a seclusion cell,
Yeah.
and what that means.
Not anything that we have utilized
No.
in our districts. I think that's come up because there are districts that were using them.
So
And
the check-in, check-out rooms don't count.
correct.
I was like, oh no.
They're like little, like the seclusion cells are like these little boxes that they were using. And so they were using they were still using them without some doors that locked. And ultimately, so there's still they're kind of these little boxes. I don't know if you've ever seen them. There's pictures of them. If you go
No.
online, look, seclusion cell for kids. They're little, they kind of stick kids in there. And they're basically saying is regardless of whether you have a door on there or not, you can't use them. So that's really, so there are districts that were still using them, even though seclusion became outlawed a number of years ago. It was it was a loophole.
These are just a handful of the required policy updates that will be coming to you. So enjoy the reading. There's more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Necessary but somewhat tedious at times. Thank you. Okay, process check. We are at 6:12. Okay. Item 12, superintendent contract timeline discussion. I'll take this one, give some introduction, and I'll open it up to the board for comment. Kevin's current contract was entered into June 3rd, 2021. And it will run from then, and it will terminate on June 30th, 2024. And I'm reading from the term language in the contract. The board and superintendent will meet and confer not later than by April 15th of the second year of the contract regarding their respective intentions. Upon mutual agreement, the board and the superintendent may establish a new 3-year agreement effective as of July 1, 2023. So that's the contract language that governs the superintendent's contract. So the board should be mindful of that. We have a legal or contractual obligation to have done that by the 15th of April. I have added this as an agenda item for the next regularly scheduled board meeting, which is January 12th, 2023, and we can talk about this in more detail in executive session. With that, I leave it to the board. Any comments or discussion?
Yeah, I was thinking, should we get a couple of us together to review his contract and then take it to the executive session to kind of iron it out and then make a final decision at the next public board meeting?
Not necessarily. We haven't even gone over his own thing that we tried to. What's it called? His
Evaluation.
evaluation. We haven't even gone over that yet.
Well, that's what we can do with this.
Well, no,
But,
his presentation that he was supposed to give us, that we didn't have, we didn't have quorum when we were gonna go over that. So he hasn't even gone over when we gave him his evaluation and he gave us his feedback of his evaluation. We haven't even gone over that yet, so.
But we still need to talk about this contract. More about the details of it.
Probably not till March or April.
So, I mean, I personally want to go forward with this. So I'd like to make a motion to go forward with this,
We don't need a motion right now.
just to work at this
He already
on the
put it
next.
on the agenda.
What's that?
He
But
has
we've
it
got
on
to sit
the
down
agenda.
and work out the details of the
Yeah.
contract.
We can do that then.
What's the agenda item like? First, like, what, is that the intent of the agenda item
For tonight,
no, for January? The
for
one you said
January,
you put it
it's,
on.
we can put some flesh on it, what would like to be done. I think there was an effort around this earlier in the year in March. And it did not end up going forward, but we had looked at, with the current contract, there was some language changes that we wanted to make that we did not at that time, and the process was dropped.
Well, I'm under the impression that now's about the time that people start recruiting for superintendent. So I mean, would imagine if we want to keep Kevin, we want to try to make sure that we support him and show him that we want to support him. So we either decide we're going to or we decide we're not going to. So hopefully, if we're going to talk about it at that meeting on the
12th of January.
I mean, I'm okay if that's the discussion we're gonna have. That I mean, we could wait until January, but I want it to be a serious discussion. If that's what we're gonna do.
Any further discussion on this from the board? Any more comments?
Well, my only comment is when we meet there, then I believe we're gonna be going over the COSA information. And is that the night that you would like to clean up the contract wording that was changed?
Yeah.
In one of our executive sessions?
Yeah,
Okay,
because that's like Eric says, like we need to iron this out. So we don't, lose Kevin if we want to keep him, so.
right.
Okay, any more comments on this? So we'll be working these issues on the exec session, 12th of January.
All right.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, item 13, board comments. No,
I mean, this is the last one for the year, right? So happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah.
Enjoy your break.
yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for coming here this evening.
Yeah.
And for the year. It's been a great day. What do you got? One more day of work and then off for weeks?
Yay.
2.5 weeks. What's the first day of school in 2023? January 3rd. January 3rd, okay. All right, any more board comments? Okay, item 14, 14A, board regular session, January 12th. We will have the executive session regarding superintendent. Going to board work session on the 19th, a week later. Enrollment numbers. With that, I think we're ready to adjourn. May you and your family and friends be blessed this Christmas and winter holiday season. Enjoy the break. We'll see you guys in January.
Get some rest. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, guys.